Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. The other day, I received a very interesting package to my office. The letter inside identified the sender as a lawyer in San Francisco, a man who represented none other than Deep Throat, later unmasked as Mark Felt, the former deputy director of the FBI, otherwise known as the man who took down Richard Nixon with the Watergate scandal. Now, those of you who know me know that I'm actually a pretty big fan of Pat Buchanan. Buchanan was the brains behind much of Richard Nixon's presidential success, turning Nixon from a failed White House candidate who promised the media that they wouldn't have him to kick around anymore after his 1960 loss to JFK because he was quitting politics, he said, to the man who then won the Oval Office not once, but twice, with the second win in '72, a massive landslide victory which swept 49 states. Through Nixon and his VP Spiro Agnew, Pat Buchanan waged the first all-out war against the corrupt media. And of course, the media, retaliated against Nixon by forcing him from office. Now, my next guest tonight included his book along with his letter, and in it, he explains how the Washington Post betrayed his client, Mark Felt, and set into motion a whole new ballpark of media partisanship. Joining us now to discuss is the man himself, Dr. John O'Connor, the author of Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism. Dr. O'Connor, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Great to be with you.
Great, so I am so excited to speak with you because even as I tipped my hand earlier by saying that I personally am a fan of Nixon, while you were the lawyer for the man who took him down, I think there's still so much I can learn from you in this whole period of American history in general. So first, explain for our audience, how did you get involved with representing Deep Throat, Mark Felt?
First of all, let me tell you, Kara, Mark Felt's intention was not to bring or Deep Throat was not to bring Nixon down. It was basically to make sure that the FBI did not whitewash an investigation into this, as the White House was pressuring them to do. That's all he wanted to do, was shine a light on things so that the grand jury could hear everything. I, in the 1970s, became convinced that Deep Throat was Mark Felt. So I knew that since 1975 or so. Lo and behold, I end up meeting his grandson, who was my daughter's best friend from Stanford University, find out his grandfather's Mark Felt, and asked if I could come up and see him. And when I did, we hit it off. He agreed I'd represent him, and eventually he agreed to come out, tell his story, and the family was thrilled with that. It took a little bit of coaxing before he realized that maybe it was a good thing to do.
And definitely very interesting, because then as you go on to say, the Washington Post betrayed your client, Mark Felt. Can you explain for us exactly what you mean by that?
Now, betrayal, as I say in the book, goes on for many years and goes up into the 2000s when I began to represent him. But the main betrayal during Watergate, the main betrayal was they didn't tell his story correctly. Mark Felt, in the garage, the first garage meeting, hypothesized how the White House might have authorized the Watergate burglary. He wanted to go to the grand jury to see if that hypothesis was true. He enlisted Bob Woodward to publicize the issue. When the Post published it, they published it as if it were gospel truth and not a hypothesis. Now let's fast forward. Those who are fans of the book or movie see that the last garage meeting, Deep Throat came into the garage, lips quivering, saying everybody's life's in danger. It's a dramatic moment. People didn't know what to make of it. In the book, Woodward and Bernstein said, well, nothing really came of this. What Mark Felt had learned was the CIA was behind Watergate. This was a CIA job. They'd infiltrated the White House through Howard Hunt. And now they were threatening lives for those people who might step forward and expose the CIA. And this is right as things are getting tough for Nixon. John Dean's getting to the point where he's going to turn tail. So what they did was they distorted this. I talk in my book about what they did to hide the truth about the CIA.